Well, hello, joining me today is Tim Milford. He's the lead coach for Kent Golf and the head golf coach at Pedham. And we've done some work together with Kent Golf, and we're going to cover today the idea of coaching teams as opposed to coaching individuals, and obviously the idea about building a team going to win. So, Tim, how you doing?
Very well. Nice to see you again on the camera.
Yes.
As usual.
It's been a while. So first up, if you can just tell me, and then obviously anyone that's listening, the idea of how you got into golf coaching and how you ended up in the positions that you're in now.
So I played amateur golf in the early 90s on the basis that I would hopefully progress through to as high a level as I can get, ideally to European Tour. That was the plan. That didn't pan out while I was an amateur. So I went through European Tour school in the 90s. There wasn't many mini tours to play, like, and not as structured as it is now, Euro Pro and all sorts of mini pay and play tours. So you played amateur golf till, which was more structured than anything else. And at the end of the year, September, October, November time was a European Tour school structure, which you would go through. It never panned out for me as an amateur to get that far. So 95, I did my PGA coaching, PGA training. Past that, 99. So I've been a PGA member since then. I was head pro at Ridge Golf Club. Went a little bit wrong, and at that stage, I still felt I had some ability to play golf. Started playing golf full time again. This time on professional circuit. There was the Euro Pro Tour at that stage was called the MasterCard Tour. So I played a few events on that. Played in the region in the south, which was a pretty strong region. Lots of tournaments and got an invite or a chance to play a challenge tour event in Finland. Some events were undersubscribed quite often, and they would ask for people to fill spots a bit last minute. So I got a call on a Tuesday. I was on their list of people that would like to play. Travelled out on the Tuesday, played an event, did quite well, finished third, which got me a top 10, which got me into another event the following week. And then just progressed from there. Played Challenge Tour for 6 years. My ranking got me into a position where I could play some European Tour events at times. I don't know whether I had some issues with my game towards the end. I'm not sure I really enjoyed it as much after 6 years with a family. Financially draining, and then the pressure came a little bit too much on the game. It's sort of a two-way negative street, unfortunately. So stopped in 2009, got a coaching role at Pedham Place, and the Kent Golf Union, as they were known then, held some Monday night sessions for their junior squads, which I got involved in, and just sort of progressed up through from there. I guess they liked the way I dealt with the kids, like what I was talking about, and from there I've been involved ever since. That's since about 2012.
I mean, one of the things that we noticed when we was doing the calls during lockdown, a lot of the players from all different ages, you can tell that there's more to this. Isn't just golf for them. They're asking questions that there's some of the calls we was doing. I was thinking, wow, they are really thinking like ahead. They're thinking they've really researched this stuff. When we talk about fitness,
yeah, there's so much more information available online that people can pick up on. With so many. You've got to be clever enough to filter some of the stuff that's not relevant as well. Yeah. So I think myself and all the coaches are always available to anyone in the teams and squads to, just ask a question and we'll give them an honest answer back, whether it's worth looking at. As we know, in golf, there's more than one way of doing it, and just finding the right method for each individual.
Yeah, I think that's as well. When people ask me, like, what exercises to do, what treatment things to do, you go, it is so individualized. You really need to know what the problem is and what you're physically doing that day. With the teams that you got, so what's kind of the youngest teams that you've got going up to sort of the oldest teams you've got?
So the under 14s play triangular matches. So they'll play two other counties at the same time, which isn't ideal. It's quite a strange format, but just to obviously, especially with the pandemic now, and golf course is not giving up so much of their golf course time free of charge, effectively, for matches. If it's not free of charge, a very low rate. They'll play in our area. I think we play matches against Surrey, Sussex, and Hampshire, and they'll play 2 of those at the same time. The same applies for under 16s and the under 18s for their league matches, and then they play. So we're the southeast group, south region. There's a southeast group, north region, and the winner of the south plays the winner of the north in a one-off match later in the year, and that goes for under 14, under 16, under 18. Under 14s at the moment, I think we're looking at handicap indexes of about 8 and below. Under 16s, I think the highest handicap we may have is about a 5, and under 18s probably about a 3. Yeah, just getting lower and lower. All those the levels that people are getting into, which again is a good thing.
Yeah, and I must admit, it is let's say the amount of information that's available now, the amount of resources that some players can get available. What say, for instance, in a coaching role, when you get the Kent teams together, I mean, how do you, rather than the competition side, but from like the other side of it? I know we've done some stuff online, but I mean, on a day-to-day basis, if you're getting the teams together or a particular team together, how's that structured out? How do you try and plan out based on what they've done before?
Yeah, so with my role, I only have one team I specifically coach now, which is the ladies' first team. So I worked out, found the course they're going to be playing. So they play all their matches in 1 week this year was at Worthing Golf Club. So all of the practice sessions and training sessions that I worked for that is just specifically to win that event, or at least compete to the best they can. So Worthing Golf Club, extremely windy it can get. It's very slopey. The greens are really fast. The greens have got lots of slope on them. So all the practice we did away from Worthing was a revolve around slopey lie practice, pace control putting, reading greens, the effect of wind on the golf ball, the distance that will hit it, and then just some tactics of actually playing match play golf as well. And it worked pretty well. They struggled on a couple of areas. It was the best planning you can do at a couple of practice rounds with the standard wind direction. For example, the first hole, it's 20 yards uphill distance extra. In practice, they're hitting like a 3-wood and maybe a pitching wedge. And then unfortunately and even the practice round on the Sunday before the day before our event, the wind switched 180 degrees and it was 30 mile an hour, and some of them couldn't reach the green in 2. So, but you can only plan the best you can. It's, you're in the luck of the elements a little bit. But a lot of the stuff they did, they coped really well with the wind. They worked out how to get the clubbing right. They worked out how to play from slopey lies. They understood the value of difficulty much better. Some holes, pars and bogeys weren't actually bad scores, especially in a foursomes format. Just struggled a little bit on the greens, and it was, quite understandable, quite slopey, quite fast, really windy. And they're a very young team, the ladies team. 4 of the 7 players are under 18. So as good a golfers as they are, there's still some experiences to be found.
Yeah. And just you talking about the amount of preparation that you've put into one match, it does make, there'll be people listening to this that turn up to the golf course that they haven't played before, hope that they can get some sort of yardage marker, and then complain that there's something wrong with their swing. When you say the amount of time and effort that you put into just thinking about the very specific golf course, who you were playing, and it can be quite eye-opening for some people. Yeah,
I in my own personal coaching at my club, I try and even get the members to go out and have playing lessons with me. Seeing their golf course through my eyes as a more skilled golfer and highly experienced. it's eye-opening for them. Just choice of shot sometimes, and value in a shot. You know, I'm not a I haven't got every stat ever from strokes gained and you know the similar for us from decade, but I love lots of stuff on that. Chatting to a guy, one of my lessons the other day, is a 12, 13 handicapper, 180 yards. You know, the chance of him getting down in 3 is quite low. So getting down in 4 is his target from 180 yards. And he actually said, well, be probably better off hitting a 9-iron and then pitching on than going for a green with hybrid. And probably right. He'd probably not take 5 anymore from that range. He'd probably take 9, but 4, or less. But no one would probably ever do that unless there was, you know, a specific obstacle in the way that, you know, determine that, maybe a lake or out of bounds or something. But, you know, no one would particularly play golf like that, even though statistically it probably is the right thing to do.
Yeah. I think that was one thing I learned a long while ago, is that if you want to be successful at something, that was something I'd done with treatment. So I would, when I wanted to sort of get really, really good at treatment, I traveled to Newcastle to work with some guys that work with football players and things like that, because I wanted to learn not necessarily just what they did, but how they thought. How would you think? So when you see this, what are you thinking about? And that idea of trying to find out how someone would think is something that still isn't really spoke about, that I see in golf. They may say about sort of mindset and meditation and things like that, but not really how a elite golfer or someone that wants to be an elite golfer actually thinks about either playing around or their practice sessions.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I think there's just there's my ball, there's a target. I'll hit it as hard as I can that way, and that works on occasions. Definitely, you know. I also like the idea for club golfers. You know, it's nice to go away with a story as well. You know, one shot that you can really say, yeah, I went for that and pulled it off. So you know, it's finding a balance though. But you can't have the glory shot every hole. It doesn't work. You know, not if you're, you know, end of the day, we're all defined by our score and our results. If you're playing in competitions, if it's just social, then just go for it. If that's the way, you know, everyone's different. You know, it depends what you want out of your game of golf.
Yeah, without.
But squad based, I was given the role through interview. My whole basis of team sport is that I'm trying to win. You know, I'm not doing it hopefully in a fashion that becomes unenjoyable for the young golfers or anyone, but that's what I've been trying to instill in all the coaches we use for the squads. You know, we're in this to win things. We've been lucky enough in Kent to have a lot of success in the last few years. The county under 18 team, which I coached for 3 years, made the national finals 2 years in a row, which they haven't done for 25 years, I believe. And then in 2019 as well, the men's first team won the national finals as well. And again, Kent haven't done that since the 80s, I think, if they've not won at all. So, you know, I think what we're trying to instill and you know, everyone wants a piece of that success now, which is great.
Yeah, and it does breed as well. You know, when you're around that, when I'm around certain people that do the things that I want to be able to do, you can just tell that there is a confidence and there is a sacrifice they're willing to make to get the win. And obviously, you say you've got a lot of young players, and it must be difficult, maybe not with them, but just in general society now. This idea of winning is, you know, you've got to just, it's not really pushed into us the way it was pushed into the kids the way it was when we were kids. This idea that, you know, well, the winner wins and everyone else just doesn't. How have you found that, trying to change that mindset, either from the years that you've been involved, but also with the younger golfers that you can see might be able to get inside the Kent system, that this idea of sort of drumming that home to them, that it's actually really, when you're competing, it's about winning?
It's like I say, it's a balance, isn't it? You know, I want the players that come through the county, you know, to remember the history of why they play golf as well. You know, it's you know, a non-sexist way of wording it. It's a gentleman's sport as well. You know, there's you want them to become nice young men and nice young ladies as they grow up, and golf's great for that. You know, there's not many sports where a 14-year-old can play with a 40-year-old man and you know, have actually something to converse about going around the golf course, because they can talk about the golf. But I've come from a sporting background where, you know, we like to win. The family likes to win. My dad was a really keen sportsman. He was a squash coach, and you don't go onto a squash court on the basis that you're going to be just teeing it back up for the guy to hit it. You're out there to you know, to compete and win. And unfortunately, like you say, only a few percent of people win all the time.
Yeah.
So you've got to get used to losing as well. But it's a matter of losing. You know, I try and let them realise that, you know, if you get beaten, that's different to losing. You know, if you give 100%, that's all we can ask. You know, but you know, sometimes you'll get beaten by a better man on the day, and sometimes you're in a stroke play event, you'll get beaten by 10 or 15 better players on the day. So, but you can always learn and move forward. And I think you know, you instilled in that in some of the Zoom calls we did. You know, that period of reflection as well to you know, think about, you know, what actually am I going to achieve, or how do I achieve the next level? What do I do? Again, one thing we try and instill on the kids as well is you've always got to keep your strong parts strong, but don't ignore the weaknesses as well, because they're the bits that will let you down under pressure. Your strong parts will generally always cope under pressure. Me personally, I'm a pretty good driver of the ball, as in accuracy. Now in my 50s, I wouldn't quite say I'm the distance I need to be to compete as well as I would want to. But my weakness, and we've talked about this, my weakness is probably my weakness more, because I always say it's my weakness, which is my short game. So I've over the last a lot of years avoided practicing that area because I hate seeing myself not do it very well. But now I've come to the fact that actually I need to, you know, that's something in my game that I need to improve, and just going through the mill a little bit with just making sure I do attempt to do it a bit more. It's say finding a balance between everything. But the way golf is going, speed is everything. And again, you know, speed, strength, and then with your elements, they've got to be physically strong enough to go through the repetitions of the speed. Otherwise, it'll be short careers for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing that we tried to it was difficult on some calls because you had big age range, but this idea that your recovery is as important as the training. You know, there's certain things you're going to have to do and be aware of, and whether you put that in at the start so you know you're going to do it after, or what happens when you train, you go, right, this isn't feeling right, I need to get my recovery right, because your body is a machine that you can increase to get better, but it still needs to be maintained and looked after.
Yeah, like you say, you know, everything's a part of improving, not just what you do on the range, on the course, but actually what you do off the course as well. You know, all the bits you spoke about, I wouldn't profess to be any expert on that, but picking up on the stuff, you know, hydrating correctly before and after, and not just 20 minutes before you tee off, but, you know, well before, loads of sleep, loads of rest. You know, you can't just compete and practice all the time. You just won't last. And if you're competing and practicing all that for too much time, you won't be competing to high performance, because your energy levels will be too low.
Yeah, and the amount of preparation,
especially at their ages.
Yeah, that was the one thing that sometimes it's difficult to answer a specific question, because you'd have someone on there that's 14 and someone that's on there that's sort of 55, and you're like, well, it's kind of, you know, it's different, it's so different, but it's about knowing your body and feeling your body, and being in positions you go, do you know what, I've had this and it doesn't feel right, and just trusting your body more than something.
Yeah, I'll let you know how I feel. I'm going out on a bike ride for the first time in a month, so I'll let you know how my body feels after that. Like, certain parts of my body I'm not looking forward to feeling afterwards.
One thing I want to cover is this idea of putting the team to coaching a team, as in like on the day. So when you do anything in an individual sport, it's difficult to become part of a team, but then you can sort of see with things like the Ryder Cup, you can just see there's a huge element. You sort of care more for other people than you do for yourself in some, you know, you don't want to be the one that lets the team down. How do you coach people through that? Like, as in anyone that's, say someone's going into the match and they feel like they're struggling, and or you feel that they might feel like they're struggling? How do you coach people on a day, or is it just one of those things that we've done all our preparation, just go out there and give it your best?
In golf's a slightly different team event as such, because it's a group of individuals playing individually for a team. It was interesting watching the England game Tuesday night. That I don't know if you saw it. There was a reverse shot or camera angle of when Sterling lost the ball and Thomas Muller nearly got through.
Yeah.
And he just stood there looking distraught because he knew at that point he had probably let the team down, as it happens.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Muller's missed that for the first time in about 1,000 years, probably that sort of one-on-one. But you could see that in him, because that would have totally affected the whole of the match. In golf, one player playing poorly, that one effect will have an effect on the whole England football team. But one player playing poorly in a golf event where there's 7 to 12 matches may not have such a huge impact on the outcome. So we try and instill that, we like a good camaraderie between them, but actually on the golf course, they're playing individually.
Yeah.
The ladies team I was with recently, when their matches finished, they stopped and encouraged the group behind, which is nice to see. They didn't just sort of wander off and go and have their lunch.
Yeah.
And there's nice to see. And a couple of them know they let themselves down on performance, which then affects the team result. And hopefully they learn and improve going forward. And I'm sure if we had been the team that had won that, the other teams would be saying the same conversation that we're sort of intimating now to use. There's only ever one winner in there. And, there'll be generally probably amateur level. It'll be weaknesses in other teams that create a winning opportunity for the best team, rather than, ultra elite performance, dominating the other teams. Maybe I don't know. Maybe just slightly favouring the that sort of weaknesses, encouraging other teams to win, rather than strengths discouraging other teams to compete. Just because perhaps the handicap levels in our team range from a +3 handicap for the ladies to I think 3. So a really good standard, but probably their weaknesses are holding them back a little bit. Yeah. And I watched a lot of the golf, and every team was very similar.
Yeah, that's right. I've kind of been taken, I mentioned it with James when we done our call previously, this idea that you kind of have, I'm seeing golfers fall in these two buckets. They have the guys that want to get better and the guys that want to feel better. So, and what I mean by that, I see it on the table when people come in for treatment, I see it in fitness, and I'm now starting to look at how it sort of works with the golf swing and lessons and that part of it. James was talking about how difficult it can be when you see someone once and you don't see them for 6 months or a year, as opposed to someone that says, right, I'm committed to this, and then you can start piecing things together. With the guys that want to get better, they seem that they are willing to do certain things that other people aren't willing to do. And the guys that want to feel better, they just literally in the situation, they go, right, that's what will make me feel better now, whether it be a piece of new equipment or a rangefinder or something that just, it gives them that edge to then get back on the course and then compete. When you're sort of coaching in your coaching role at Pedham, how do you find that you get the best results for your golfers? I know you mentioned playing lessons, which, it's night and day, the difference between something on a range and playing lessons. But how do you find that if you could have the perfect client come and see you, what is their mindset? What is it they want to do? And what type of plan can you put together? Not necessarily if they've got one particular problem, but an idea, go, right, this is my big vision and I need to show you a small part of it.
Yeah, I don't particularly have a method, to coach as such, looking at elite golf now. I try not to think that I would, but some of the players that are earning millions a year, possibly if I'd seen them as a teenager, I might have ruined them because they're technically difficult, and they manage really well, what they do. So but I think also what you realise, if someone is that good at a young age with what they do, you probably wouldn't change them anyway. So, you know, if they was a 9 handicapper with some moves that, you know, perhaps don't conform to what you see, would you change them? Probably yes, or you'd at least encourage it. I do instill on a lot of the teams as well. You know, we call it coaching loosely, more development. We call the county stuff. I'm really aware that the majority of the players that come to the squad coaching, they have their own personal coach. Maybe their club coach, and maybe someone they've researched that they go and see, and never trying to step on anyone's toes. We try to get in contact with the home coach, see it, and especially if something doesn't look right. At worst, I know personally, when I see an old video, I'll give them this video. I'll ask for their coach's name. We'll give them that. Give it to the parents, and say, "Look, this is what I think. Please have a chat with your coach. This is why I would change this. The reasons why you're hitting this shot are X, Y, and Z. This would help, in my opinion. Change it. Please seek advice from your own coach." I'm not one to stand there and preach to kids at all. You know, every coach, like you're saying, you know, long-term goals for someone. The person in front of me may have, you know, an interim golf swing that his coach is looking to improve as they go along. You know, you see that a lot, and unfortunately, you know, long-term golf coaching corrections, they've still got to play, haven't they? So, you know, you can't just stop a kid playing for a year. I mean, what Faldo did in the late 80s was astounding. Really, just really took a year and a half, 2 years out of the game, rebuilt his golf swing, and came back. I think that would be hard to do in this day. So we try and find out what they were, you know, in their words, what are you actually trying to achieve with this shot? And then, you know, with the use of TrackMan and you know, video cameras and GC2s and whatever the coaches use, it's like, well, you know, you're not achieving this because of X, Y, and Z. Please seek advice from your own coach. But there, we don't, you know, I hope that as I do, I'll jump in and show them what maybe to practice. I'm definitely aware of not stepping on home coaches' toes for that. We see them, as I say, to you know, the county is based on participation at young ages, trying to get as many kids to play in the game, but at squad level and team level, we're trying to win matches. And so I see a lot of mine, like I explained with the county, we identify where they're playing, what obstacles are they going to come up with, and give them some solutions that they may not have from a flat range, practicing downwind, and then suddenly you've got you know, an incline of 15 degrees and playing into the wind, and the effect of that on what club they should play. Hitting it harder was one of the answers I got, into the wind. I said, well, if you could hit it harder, why wouldn't you do that anyway? And they sort of gave a little blank look back at me, and I think the penny sunk on that one. So yeah, I'll just hit it harder. Brilliant. Thank you for that answer. Yeah.
It's that interpretation, and it's when people get, I mean, I've had it before, and you know, it's kind of similar. So I'd have people come see me with lower back injuries and their upper back doesn't move. So I say, right, what we need to do, we need to get your upper back moving more, because that give you more range of motion, and you won't steal that range of motion from your lower back, and it'll stop you getting lower back range of motion. And then the client, and if I didn't speak to the pro, the client would speak to their pro and say, my guy says I need to get more range of motion. And the pro is now thinking he's thinking more range of motion in the backswing. And the guy was over rotating anyway. He's going, well, the last thing we want you to do is do more range of motion. And I was like, right, let's just have a quick chat. And I was able to speak to him. And it was the guy, the client had literally just passed on the wrong information. And I was saying, no, look, we need to fix you. You've got a back injury and we need to fix this. Your upper back isn't moving. You're going to be in trouble. I've been through these injuries. You're going to be in trouble for a very long time if you don't fix this. As soon as I spoke to him, he went, that wasn't what he said to me.
No. Yeah. I do look at them like, are you sure those are the words you've been given? You know, are you sure that's exactly the words? And it is, in terms of, I think, you know, going out of a golf lesson, I tell them all the time this, and I've been, you know, doing it a reasonably long time. You know, they've like got this sponge they come with, which is dry, and then it's filled up with information in water. they're trying not to drop that as they get to the car, and every step they take, a bit more comes out the sponge, and by the time they got to the car, they've lost 50% of the information, or it's in another sponge that they haven't got with them. And so it's so with technology now, nearly all of my lessons, especially the first one, they'll get a video with some words on that just hopefully explains what we've gone through in the content. Not easy to do that always with the county coaching, but a lot of the specific information will go through with slopey lies and wind, the effect of the wind. I'll email to the team manager to forward on to the squad members as well. So at least it's there if they want to use it. You can only give the information, you can't force people to use it. And hopefully over a period of time when perhaps they underperform, they'll actually start to think, well, actually, I've got that written down somewhere, and all I need to really do is look at it once or twice and see what happens.
And like you say, where there's so much information out there, people will search it on the internet before they search their own notes and their own information that they've got. Having that ability to go back to their lesson, their swing, and go, hang on, actually now I remember that now. I remember that one piece of information that I never picked up at that time, and that's relevant now. So just sort of finishing up this, how can people get in touch with you if they want to come work with you? What have you got lined up for the future? And obviously with everything going on with lockdowns and everything else, so hopefully we can get a lot more golfing towards the rest of the year.
The thing with my other job as running the golf centre, it's been astounding, the influx of people. It really has. We've actually put a temporary close on taking new members at the golf club that would have the ability to play at weekend. It's that busy. We've never done that in the time that I've been there. I've been there at Pedham 12 years now. So I think we try to be pretty genuine. We could take 100 people's money, but I wouldn't get them on the golf course, and it just doesn't seem right to do. So at the moment, to put a temporary block on that. Golf's on a massive upturn. It's just up to the golf courses and the managers and the staff to keep people in it and then get them enjoying it. It's been busy, which is good. It's nice to be busy. Some days overly busy, coaching. People are realizing now that there more people coming in, more people needing lessons. The range is much busier. We've got a really good par 3 course at Pedham as well, which is a great little starter course. I think 18 holes can be intimidating for people starting. It's not that enjoyable 4 hours and nobbling the ball along the floor for all that time. Whereas, starting correctly and using a 9-hole course perhaps is quite a good starting point for them. It was, again, I saw something the other day which was quite interesting, that golf is one of very few sports where you learn not on the field of play. You start tennis on a tennis court, you start squash on a squash court, but on a golf, you go and stand on a mat, hit balls a range that's got 10,000 balls already on it. You get the idea of swinging the golf, but it's not playing golf, that's just swinging the golf club. I quite like the idea, but again, do you want to put people off by going on a golf course and just not really making contact? But yeah, it's interesting to get again a balance between hitting a golf ball and playing golf, which is a difference. Yeah,
and that's it as well. So, we're a crazy breed as well. That's the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It does seem. I took my daughters once. They don't really play golf. I never forced them to. Never, just if they want to play, they would. But we went on to the first, and she was almost expecting the green to come towards her. She didn't realise she had to walk around the golf course, which was only about 7, to be fair to her. But it's a bit, to go from a range. Another guy, I thought he had a bet with someone playing a golf day, a celebrity golf day, and his friend had come last, and he bet him that he wouldn't come last. And I was one of the first people I started teaching was at Pedham, and he was hitting balls on the range, and he was a big guy, hit the ball a long way, and he looked really good. So he said, well, you need to get on the golf course. It's like 2 weeks before he's going to play this event at a really nice course at Stoke Park. And we went out on the golf course, and he just had no idea where to stand, where to aim. It was so different. And So there's this sort of taking it from the range to the course is a little bit different. So I think this is why I said one of the first things I like to get on the course with people, just to show them how to get it around the golf course as well, in their world, not my world or Bryson's world, just the way they hit it.
Yeah.
Like golf's a little bit like yachting. You got to sometimes get from A to B. You got to add in C and D as well. Just tack your way around a bit more cleverly.
That's it. It's one of those games that the more it frustrates you, the more you want to play it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy, isn't it?
You'll always play. If you have a bad day, the last hole's always a good one to bring you back. Always.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So how can people get in touch with you?
So I'm at Ped and Place Golf Centre, which is in Swanley in Kent. Website is www.ppgc.co.uk. On Instagram, Tim Milford Golf Pro. Twitter, similar feed. Not particularly on Facebook. I haven't got enough friends for that. And just search me for all our links are on our website, and happy to help anyone.
Brilliant. Thanks for your time again, Tim. And
that's quite all right, John.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Good to speak to you. Cheers, mate.